Sinigang, sisig. Oh my gosh, I love sisig and I cannot even find a sisig here in Korea.
The first case of COVID-19 in the Philippines was identified last January 30, 2020, which is almost exactly a year from now. Since then, the lives of many have changed drastically in a blink of an eye. Along with these changes are decisions of many foreigners to move out of the country. This includes 5 of my Korean friends who've actually lived in the country longer than I have. Today, let's find out why they decided to move back to Korea during the pandemic. P.S. Before you mention Pinoy baiting in the comments, I would like to let you know that the owner of this channel, which is me, is 100% Filipino. Moreover, our channel has a bunch of Filipino-based videos which we would love for you to watch. Now, onto the video.
Hi, I'm Blake.
Hi, my name is Hannah Oh.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm currently working as a freelancer at KBS, plus currently 4th year university student.
Hi guys, Happy New Year, and I'm Hyunwoo Kim. You can also call me Augustine. Actually, I'm not active on my YouTube channel for now, but you can still check my previous day's vlog there. You can also find me on Instagram, and my ID is YouLifeLife.
Hi guys, long time no see. My name is Jenny and I bet you know me if you know Else Planet. I'm still a student. I'm a 3rd year student and I used to work as a translator in some of K-pop concerts. Blackpink! Before pandemic, but now there's no concerts, so I have no job. I'm just a student.
Where did you live in the Philippines, and where do you live now?
I live in Taft for the last year before coming back to Korea due to pandemic, but I started my life in the Philippines from Mandaluyong City for about 4 years, so totally 5 years.
When I was in Philippines, I lived in Ortigas, Pasig, but now I'm currently living in Gyeonggi-do. It's near Seoul. It's been almost 11 or 12 years living in the Philippines.
I've been living in the Philippines for about 12 years. When I lived in the Philippines, I stayed at Ortigas Pasig and currently I'm living in Songpa, Seoul.
I stayed in Ortigas Center in the Philippines near my school, but now I'm back in Seoul, Korea.
I lived in Philippines for I think 5-6 years. I lived in Makati and Ortigas, and right now I'm living in Chuncheon in Korea.
Whose decision was it for you to move back to South Korea? Will you be staying there for good, or just during the pandemic?
It was my decision moving back to Korea, but I'm just gonna stay here only during the pandemic, and I'm also gonna serve military, so after finishing the military services, I'm gonna go back to the Philippines.
It was me and my parents' decision to move here to Korea. Actually, I was planning to stay really a short term, but the Philippine government is not allowing me to go back to Philippines, so I'm kinda stuck here in Korea. I'm gonna probably go back to Philippines when this pandemic's over.
I came back to Korea last July due to the ongoing pandemic, and the decision was made by myself and my family in Korea. For now, I'm thinking of staying in Korea for good. My decisions might change in the future since I really love the Philippines.
I'm planning to stay in Korea for good.
For my situation, I think I'll just stay here just during the pandemic cause I still have studies that I need to finish in Philippines, and if I can, I think I will go back to Philippines as soon as possible.
What was the main reason you moved back to South Korea?
At the first time when I experienced lockdown and pandemic in the Philippines, I thought it's gonna end soon, but it was getting worse. And then I realized I was also paying for my condo, groceries, internet, and so on. It was really wasting of money and time for me without going to school or working. So I sold everything that I had and get a ticket back to Korea.
What was the main reason? Wala lang. Because I already planned for having a vacation in Korea, the summer vacation. So I just came to Korea for vacation. And now I'm stuck here because of the pandemic.
The decision for me to come back to Korea was not only because of the ongoing pandemic. I was actually planning to come back to Korea after my graduation, but luckily the school offered me online classes, so I was able to come to Korea and do online classes until the last subject that I finished actually last semester. Not only that, I was kind of scared of the hospital fee that I have to pay when I was in the Philippines, because from what I know, foreigners had to pay a higher bill when you get coronavirus and go to the hospital for treatment. My father in Korea, my other family members were also very worried that I might get the disease and suffer in a foreign country. So that was the reason why I decided to come back to Korea during the pandemic.
The main reason why I came back to Korea is because of my safety. Every single person around the world is suffering from the COVID-19, but each suffering level may differ depending on the country he or she is staying in, because each government has a different way of handling the crisis. The main difference between the Philippines and Korea, for me, is the benefit that I can get as a foreigner.
My main reason that I moved back to South Korea was my parents' worry about me. I was the only one not in South Korea, and then parents always worrying about their children. Since they started to worry about me, I needed to come back since they booked flight for me. I also asked to my school that how can I go back, or when can I go back to Philippines? And then they keep on saying that the governments are not prepared with the transportation and place to separate foreign students who got back from foreign countries. There are still people who need to go back to Philippines. Like for me, it can be reasoned as studies, but for others, it can be related with their life, such as like for their job, for their businesses. It can be really serious problem for them. For people who have acceptable reason to get back to Philippines, I think Philippine governments should open the gate for them.
What was the most difficult part about leaving the Philippines?
The most difficult things about living the Philippines is everything that I achieved and made during my school years and my life in the Philippines.
There were several things that made me feel difficult for me to leave the Philippines. First of all, I spent half of my life living in the Philippines, so the way of living will be really different when I come to Korea. So one of many is that my lifestyle is really different. For example, while in the Philippines, there were people who helped me wash the dishes and clean my room, but in Korea, house helpers are not available, so I'm currently doing all stuff on my own.
One of the most difficult part about leaving the Philippines was, the first one was leaving my high school friends, university friends. When I came back to Korea, there was almost none because most of them was serving military services and not in touch or something like that. Because I thought it will be just remain just for a few months, like 2 to 3 months. Then after that, I can go back to Philippines and do my studies. That was my plan, but it didn't happen.
Is there anything you miss about the Philippines, and do you wish to move back or visit again in the future?
Anything that I miss about Philippines? Everything! Sinigang, sisig. Oh my gosh, I love sisig, and I cannot even find a sisig here in Korea. Also, Mang Inasal, Jollibee. Oh my gosh, the gravy sauce. I really love gravy sauce. The gravy sauce with rice. I love it. In Korea, there's no gravy sauce in McDo, KFC, and elsewhere. And I cannot taste it here. No one knows that taste. Also, I miss my friends. I love hugging my friends. I cannot hug them now. We're just having a Zoom call time. And also, maybe this will sound weird, but I sometimes miss the Philippine smell.
ng Pilipinas.
Yung hot smell of Philippines. I don't know why, but yeah, I miss that.
Of course, I really want to move back to the Philippines because I really miss my life in the Philippines, specifically at school, during weekends, hanging out with my friends, and doing activities. So I hope this pandemic and this virus will be cured really soon. Everyone stay safe and be careful. I hope see you soon. Bye bye.
I really miss the food. Lechon, sinigang, pancit canton, and ice cold beer. Like, I really miss the food so much. But the most difficult thing for me was that I had to leave my friends behind, especially my best friend Hyojin. I really miss you. I'm actually looking forward to going back to the Philippines. If I don't go there to live, I really love to go there to travel and meet my old friends and share good food with them. And I really, really miss the country. The Philippines was my second home, and I really miss everything about the Philippines, and I hope you all stay safe from the ongoing coronavirus, and love you all.
One thing I experienced in the airport was that the immigration delayed the release of my visa because of the pandemic back in April. But when I tried to leave the country, airport immigration wouldn't let me go out because of the visa, and I had to pay for the penalty once again on the top of visa processing fee to leave the country. The pandemic caused my visa delay, but I think immigration should have done something about it, not making people paying over and over to settle the problem, because that's not the solution. In the future, I think I want to try visiting other countries that I haven't been to.
Of course I do. First, I miss everyone. I miss every single people in Philippines. Since I spent my high school and university in there are a lot of stories, memories, everything is staying in there. It's not just about single memories, but I left my friendship over there. I think I will move back. I don't know when it can be, but I will. I miss you all. One more thing is that I think your long hair sits on you. Bye.